When we think of memories, we imagine a kind of time travel. We close our eyes and we're back on a summer porch, or at a family table, or riding in a car with people we love. Our memories transport us, and when we reminisce about them, we usually share them with someone else. But they're also very personal. Memories are ours alone. They exist inside us. And sometimes it feels good to share them, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes we even want to forget them. For years, I carried the memory of being followed home from school by bullies. I knew it was a memory because it would bubble up and surprise me. I could be walking down a street anywhere, and suddenly I would hear their footsteps behind me. Their taunts would echo in my ears. I would feel their heavy steps gaining on me. I would break into a run and not stop until I reached safety. I spent many years avoiding the streets where it happened, the streets where I felt most vulnerable. But eventually I had to go back to those places. Many years later, as a young writer living in New York City, I found myself in a group of writers working on a project about place. We were given one simple assignment: choose a place that means something to you and write about it. And so I chose the streets where I had been bullied. It was a difficult choice. And when I returned to those places, I walked slowly. I took photographs. I listened to the sounds. I observed the people. I felt vulnerable again. But that time, when I got home, I wrote. And in writing, I began to heal. Writing about that experience helped me take ownership of my story. It brought me back to those places without putting me back in danger. In some ways, it was easier than running. I know that it's hard to talk about painful things, even with a therapist. It's scary to bring the dark stuff into the light. It feels much safer to keep it buried in our memories. But I've learned that when we take the risk to talk about the really tough stuff, then something remarkable happens. We start to reclaim our stories. And when we reclaim our stories, we reclaim our power. In today's episode, we re-talking about how reminiscence can help us transform painful memories, and how sharing our stories can help us let go. Reminiscence is such a powerful tool that we have used it in our therapy practice for many years. Back to the story. It's easy to blame ourselves for things we don't understand. Let's say you're driving and someone cuts you off. You may immediately think, it's always me, or maybe even, it's always them. We're quick to judge ourselves or others. But both of these judgments are unfair because they ignore the bigger picture. We know that everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Everyone makes mistakes. So blaming ourselves for all of our mistakes and excusing ourselves for all of our strengths is unfair to us. It sets us up for failure. This kind of thinking traps us in perfectionism or hopelessness. It prevents us from learning and growing. So instead of placing blame or making excuses, we try to see things in context. How often does this happen to me? How often am I at fault? How often is it just bad luck? What can I learn from this? Let's go back to the story. It's hard to understand the purpose of something that seems random, unfair, or cruel. And it's also hard to talk about things we find shameful, including our own mistakes. Most of us don't want to admit that we're imperfect. So when something traumatic happens, we often try to make sense of it. We search for meaning in the chaos. We ask ourselves, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen here? What did I do to deserve this? Trying to answer those questions can become an obsession. And if we don't get the answers we want, we may conclude that there are no answers. But that's not necessarily true. Something may have happened because of something else that happened before it. And if we follow that chain of events backward, we may be able to uncover the roots of our experiences. Understanding where something came from can help us make sense of it. It can help us see it in context. It can help us let go of blame and shame. In this story, the main character blames herself for her traumatic experience. She believes she deserved it. Maybe she thinks she must have done something in the past to deserve it. So she goes back in time to look for an explanation, to find the reason why. While she's in the past, she sees herself as a child, and she realizes that the trauma wasn't her fault. Her mother is to blame. Through time travel, she uncovers the truth. She reclaims her story. The truth is that most of us don't remember everything that happens to us. In fact, memory works more like a camera that takes a series of snapshots than like a video camera that records everything continuously. And while most memories fade over time, some stick with us for years. Some memories turn into stories that we tell and retell. These are our core narratives. Our core narratives shape our identity. They tell us who we are, and they affect how we relate to other people. Our core narratives are formed during childhood. They're based on our earliest experiences. They may begin with our parents. Our relationship with our parents colors our understanding of the world and our expectations for future relationships. It shapes our narrative about ourselves. And in some cases, this narrative is positive. We may believe we're worthy of love. We may believe we're deserving of happiness. In other cases, it can be negative. We may believe we're destined to fail. We may believe we deserve to be punished. As we grow up, we add to our core narratives. Every new experience fits into the story we've already begun. If we think ourselves unworthy of love, every rejection confirms it. If we think ourselves destined to fail, every disappointment proves it. So our beliefs drive our experiences. Our experiences confirm our beliefs. In the story, the main character's belief about herself is shaped by her relationship with her mum. She tells us that she heard her mother's voice calling her back from the alley. She tells us that she felt the rain on her face. She tells us that she remembered her first kiss. All of those sensory details are vivid and immediate, but they only appear after the character relives her childhood trauma. Before that moment, she doesn't recognize these memories. She hasn't allowed herself to remember them. When she relives her childhood trauma, she's finally able to access these memories. They become part of her story. And in that way, she completes her narrative arc. She finds the root of her trauma, and she's able to move forward. Our core narratives are essential to our survival. When we're young, our parents interpret the world for us. We trust their guidance. We believe their assessments. Their beliefs become our beliefs. We internalize their view of the world. So our core narratives are deeply ingrained. They're embedded in our physiology. They can control our thoughts and our behaviors. But just as our core narratives can be sources of strength, they can also be sources of suffering. Many times people come to therapy seeking help to change their stories about themselves, because these stories have become destructive. They may have once been protective, but now they're preventing growth. Now they're causing pain. So how do we change a core narrative? Well, it starts with storytelling. Talking about our experiences gives us the opportunity to find new meanings. And when we find new meanings, we can discover new possibilities. When we tell our stories, we connect with others. We realize that we're not alone. Sharing our story helps us externalize our internalized beliefs. We take our self-perceptions and put them out in the world, and then we listen for what other people have to say. In telling our stories, we step outside of them. Then we can see them from different perspectives. We can challenge our assumptions. We can test our beliefs. We can find new meanings. Let's look back at the story. This story is about remembering and forgetting. It's about taking something that's painful and unspeakable and transforming it into something that's bearable and even beautiful. It's about how the process of remembering and forgetting can change us. The main character learns that her past isn't her fault, and in the present, she's free of the guilt and shame that have been weighing her down. She can walk past Mr. Patel's store without fear. She can breathe in the smell of wet stones and know that she's safe. She can laugh without irony. But that change wouldn't have happened if she hadn't told her story. Telling her story gave her a chance to remember what happened to her and forget the self-blame that has been holding her back. We hope this story inspires you to tell your stories. It may be uncomfortable at first, but as you gain confidence, you'll find that you're reclaiming your life. You're becoming who you want to be. You're letting go of who you used to be. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and share with your friends.